Right, before we jumped actually further into the Torque3d engine, I decided I should probably take a step back and basically take a look at some of the tools we'll be using and how to get them set up and ready to go. So let's jump into that. Alright, so as we covered in the original video, the introduction video to this series, is we're going to be using Makehuman and Blender a lot. So we need to get Blender set up to work with Makehuman though, especially for Torque3d, since that's going to be a lot of our workflow, and it might be for other game engines too, so this might be important. So in the Makehuman folder, wherever you install it to, I have a portable installation. There's going to be a folder called Blender Tools. Inside Blender Tools there are 4 folders. There's also a copy to Blender bat file that if you open it up, you'll see, actually let me open it up in an actual Word editing thing. It's supposed to copy files to the Blender add-ons folder. So you're supposed to run it with copy to Blender, and then path to add-ons folder. I did try this once, it didn't seem to work correctly for me. I copied it to the root of my C drive. And I'd had that in quotes and everything, so I'm not sure exactly what that was. But it's really not that big a deal, so it's easy just to copy it yourself, even if it's not quite as efficient as that way. So the easiest way to do it is basically just to select these 3 folders and copy and paste them into your Blender add-ons folder, and you'll find that, you know, program files, if you have 64-bit, Blender Foundation, Blender 2.72, and then believe it's scripts, add-ons, yes, there we go, in your add-ons folder there, and copy and paste those 3 folders directly into the root of this add-ons, and close Blender while you do this, and then you can also reopen Blender once that's done and go to the user preferences, which is just file, user preferences, and if you go to add-ons, you can see the add-ons there, and now if you search for Make, it'll pull up Makehuman, Make Close, Make Target, Make Walk. All of those are selected as working, so all you have to do is copy those in a script folder. And for the Makehuman Exchange, what you usually can do is just do install from file and then go to E drive, portable install, Makehuman, Blender Tools, and then MHX importer, then import scene MHX. Now Blender does come with Makehuman, and I was going to say, look at the version number, see if that's it. It looks like maybe that's supposed to be the version number. I don't know, but it's always going to be IO import scene MHX, with the one that ships Makehuman is just import scene MHX. If you happen to have the one that says version 1.16.20, that should be the brand newest one. I believe there hasn't been an update to Makehuman in the past few weeks. So, and if you want, you can always double check by going into Blender Tools in the Makehuman, and then going MHX importer, running an edit with Notepad++, scroll down and look for version, and then you'll see 1.16.20. So made for Blender 2.6.9, but more than 2.7.1. So that's fairly simple, just to get that all imported, and make sure those are all enabled, and you should be ready to import your file at this point. So we'll go ahead and cover that next. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is import our Makehuman file, as I've done here. Essentially, you're just going to go to File, Import, Makehuman, and then just click on Makehuman. You can, and actually I would recommend doing this. I'll show you what happens in a little bit, but the scale is going to be really large. We're going to change it in Blender, but it's much better if you just change it in here. And you can see what to import here, overriding default settings. Sometimes the helper geometry is nice, depending on what sort of animating you're going to be doing. And I'm not sure what drivers of KH are, so you can take a look at that. But Rigify is usually what Blender has, so a lot of times it's what you can use. So, but right now we're going to leave the scale at 1. Well, I left the scale at 1, so you can take a look. You'll notice that it's massive once it imports. It can take us a few seconds sometimes. So, a lot of times I added a light as well and changed it to material view. So, added a hemi light, which is nice to see for materials to see. Make sure all your materials imported correctly. So, usually what I do, just alright, that's armature. Get out of that and select. Come on. Alright, we're going to select everything manually, apparently, and scale it down. Hit period, numpad period, and that'll scale it down to a reasonable version. Again, you can just change the scale on the MHX importer, which is what I would highly recommend you do. Figure out what kind of scale you need. I'll show you the process to sort of importing it in. So since we are changed the scale in Blender, we're going to have to do apply visual transform, and I believe we also, I don't know for sure, but we're going to do apply object transform. That just makes sure that the scale and everything is not crazy. So let's go ahead and try and get that out of our way as much as possible. So you'll notice on the apply object transform, location, rotation, and scale should be checked if possible. So that's just what we'll need to do. So the next thing we'll do is I'll show you another issue you're going to have right away. So let's select the shirt, hit H to hide, and you're saying, okay, good, there's no geometry there. But if you hit tab, you'll notice there is still geometry there. So I'll just do a quick example what we're going to do here. And actually her shirt kind of covers the whole thing there. So what we're going to do is just grab most of that there and delete vertices there. Try and do a quick hack job over here as best I can. Alright, and same thing in here. This is just for demonstration purposes, but you'll have to do this for your entire model, which is why usually I would recommend just exporting it without close, and like go back into Makehuman, export it without close, and then create close of your own in here. So okay. We're gonna hit tab. Of course, we deleted a large part of her legs, but you know, whatever. This is just for testing. So back into material. So now we have our little model here, and we're gonna go ahead and click on there, and then we're going to go to File, Export Collada, and then we're gonna take a look at this. This is the current settings I have that I'm testing, and it seems to work okay. Selection only. I also did include children, include armatures, include shape keys, although I don't think we have any at this time, and include UV textures, include material textures, and I believe copy, make sure yeah, copy the textures to the same DAE folder. So the rest of it pretty much is left the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to wherever you put your Torque3d project is. So in my projects, test, and then I think this is the folder to look for, but game, art, shapes, actors, and then create your own folder. So we're going to export the collada there, and it just exported over whatever we had. So now we'll close this and reopen Torque3d. So basically, again, Torque3d master, my projects, test, I believe, and then where you saved your collada would be game, art, shapes, actors, and then your folder. So in my case, Makehuman. So we'll go back to my projects, test, and at the bottom, launch Torque3d 64. And open up an empty room here. And what we'll do, free camera, and scroll out. Go to library, meshes, game, art, shapes, actors, that, double click, and there we go. It did import it directly in, and I must have accidentally clicked past the import. We'll redo that. Yeah, well, let's actually just redo that right now. So let me just squeeze this over a little bit too, so it's easier to see. We're going to go back into Blender. Actually, I'll literally just open my folder here and then delete everything there so that it's empty. And then again do a file, export collada, and all of it should be saved already, so we'll just go back to our actors. We'll call it untitled DAE. Back to this, untitled. There, that's what we should get. Must have clicked one too many times, but level of detail, this is something that it actually can import level of detail, and you'll have to look up on the Torque3d documentation there is, but there's you can do trailing number, I think, which is by 1, 2, or 3 it shows what level of detail it is. So so that's great. That's something you can do. I usually do floor model for subject material CS for now. While we're testing, floor model doesn't seem to work exceptionally well. I think it's based on where the origin is, which I thought was between the feet, but it doesn't appear to be. So, but just hit OK there, and like I said, there's our model. Now we did import it right next to a soldier model, so you can see that we do have some tweaking to do. And again, I would recommend doing that at the import. So basically, just do a straight import. And actually this model did a lot better than my old one. My old model was having issues with displaying multiple materials with the shirt and the shorts. Don't know what I did differently, but hey, it's working now. Obviously you can go back in and change it. So so as you can see, you have just imported a model into it. You just have to change the size of the model, and you should be good to go. And I guess just follow the exact steps I did, and you won't have problems with multiple materials. If you do, I would go ahead and delete everything and start over from scratch and Makehuman. Make sure that everything is being exported the same. Blender image checks is what I have. I changed this to inch for the new one, so so yeah, see if that's it. You can check export for Rigify as well. It depends on how you want it. So alright, so basically that's just to get your basic model in there. Next time I'll have this model cleaned up and resized, and then we'll look at maybe some animations and for the things you can do when importing. So that's it for now.